Welcome back to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. If this is the first time you're tuning in, welcome. We promise we'll keep this entertaining for you. Hopefully you'll learn something, tidbit or two related to some real estate investing strategies. If you are a return viewer, follower, watcher, thanks so much. We always appreciate the support. We try to bring in real estate investors that are doing real deals today. I'm super excited. We're going to bring on Jay London here in a second, but he's a full-time operator. He's an operator of real estate, seems to have a good amount of experience in a bunch of different asset classes. So, not only everybody out there is going to learn something, but personally, I've got my crayon and my piece of paper out as well. So hopefully I'm going to take some notes.
It sounds like you're going to be drawing some pictures, and it doesn't sound like you're taking notes, but either way, it doesn't matter. As long as you're drawing something, learning something, that's what matters. Guys, if you get any value from this, like Jason said, we bring in people who are actually doing real deals. We don't look for gurus. We bring people who are actually doing real deals and can actually talk about what's happening in the market, not just theory. If you get any value out of this, please feel free to share it. That's the best compliment that you can give us. We appreciate it. And enough bullshit from us. Let's just bring Jay in and talk about what we want to talk about today. I met Jay out in Dallas at a storage event. We connected. There's not many guys that are taller than me, and then most guys have more muscle than me. And Jay and his your other buddy, what was his name? Russ, the fireman from Oklahoma, is the biggest guy I've ever seen in my life. And
Russ is very tall.
Yeah, you guys made a presence there. We had some good conversations, started talking about some ground-up development, some other fun things that you're doing. So excited to talk about all that. Jay, you want to introduce yourself? Let everyone know what you do and where you're from.
Yes, I'm based out of the Oklahoma City market, and I've been in real estate. Gosh, I'm going to tell my age, but I think just like everybody else, I got in it by flipping houses or buying rent houses, and I bought my very first one in 1996. I was a law enforcement officer during that time, and I realized that I was never going to be able to live the dream that I wanted to on law enforcement pay. And I was just a dumb farm boy, grew up on a farm, and I said, I've started reading books, and it seemed like everybody I talked to that was wealthier, a lot wealthier than me, owned real estate. So I said I had to start somewhere, and bought my first rent house, which turned into flip houses, which turned into new construction homes. That's taken us to the point where we are now. I still have a very successful custom home building business. Got into the commercial side approximately 5 years ago. Bought an office space, developed land development. I've done a lot. I've built apartment complexes, industrial buildings, land development, residential and commercial. I've got a big commercial development going now, and I'm steering towards the more of the industrial flex space warehouse industry, and self-storage right now is where a lot of my focus goes. I got a team that takes care of my custom home building division. We don't do a whole lot of houses a year. We keep it pretty manageable with an executive assistant and a project manager and account services, and so we keep it simple. It still takes us 8 months to 10 months to build a custom home. Most of the homes we build are north of 3,000 square foot up to 5,000 square foot. So it takes a little time to build them.
Just so everyone knows, you're out in Oklahoma City, correct?
Yes. Oklahoma City, MSA.
What's a custom home build house in the 3,000 to 5,000 square foot range trade for out in your marketplace?
No, 3,000 to, they're running around 225 to 250 square foot. It could get higher than that. Customs, they come in at it's just like anything else. You may have somebody that you bid out the job and it's going to come in around $200 a foot, and then here they want some crazy ass Italian tile we got to ship in that turns it into 300 a square foot house. It's just, it is what it is. We went to cost plus operation 4 years ago, and it's worked out well for us. We don't turnkey anything anymore. We just come in and say, okay, we'll send it out to all of our suppliers and our material men, and we'll get quotes from them. And then we're 20%. So, and then we work it really simple, where my builder fee is separate from the draw schedule. So I set it up where the job, just simplicity, that if the job's going to make $100,000, I break it up into 10 draws over 10 months for my builder fee. And then we got a draw schedule for that slab. If with frame and all that stuff. So those two aren't commingled together, and I like it that way. If I got 10 houses going, I get a check on the first of the month for my builder fees, and it's worked out a lot better than doing it, commingling your builder fee with your draw schedule, because it gets real big in the beginning and then it slows down. So you really don't have a steady, okay, I'm making this much a month kind of deal. And, you have overhead, you have salaries, you got all that stuff. Well, when you're in between, you're not making as much money. So I had to figure out a different way to be able to make sure we had a steady amount of money coming into the company so we could cover overhead and take care of whatever.
That's a great point, because you're in essence bringing in cash flow monthly inside your business inside a business model that might not always be
right
regular cash flow. Right. And there's a lot to be said about that. And that's interesting how that's structured. So are all of these, I'm guessing your home building company probably is just focused in Oklahoma City. Are all the assets that you buy and build, is everything in Oklahoma City, the state of
Right now we are just in Oklahoma City market, because Oklahoma City market is so stable, I guess would be a great word for it. And the demand is still here. I've got friends from all over the nation that keep coming to Oklahoma City trying to buy apartment complexes and stuff because of our stability here. So, and I've got, with my experience and knowledge, I can find opportunities that a lot of people don't notice. So it's simple to say that I can be as busy as I want to be right here. Ian and I was talking, it's usually the hardest part is finding the dirt to make these deals happen, because the investors and the buyers of these buildings I'm building, these industrial buildings, they're a dime a dozen, because it's such a great asset. And people don't build to sell those things. I'm one of the few guys in the market that's building to sell right now. And so but we are looking into moving right now. We're looking for land in the Kansas City market, and definitely Tulsa market. And we may be looking into the Arkansas market pretty quick too.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you're talking about small bay flex, and I'll send Jason your Facebook page here in a second so guys can see a picture of what we're talking about. What can you describe what that means? Like, how's it different from storage? How's it different from is it contractor parking? Define what you're building?
Okay. So basically what industrial flex space is they're 1,500 to 2,500 square foot in individual bays in a big building that's 20,000, 30,000, 12,000, whatever it is, whatever you're building. They're individual bays that has an office and a bathroom. And so your small business owners, like your landscapers, your plumbers, your electricians, your small guys, have a place to store their tools, store their trailers, store their equipment, and be able to run an office out of, and have a bathroom. So it's kind of an all-in-one where they can run their entire business until they outgrow the space out of this little 2,200 or 2,500 square foot individual warehouse. So it's storage, and it gives them security to be able to, they don't have to go out and rent these big buildings and these big yards and stuff to run their business. They're for smaller business, and it's not just those kind of guys. I mean, there's all kinds of people that rent these kind of spaces to store stuff in and work out of, but it's originally designed for small business owners that are getting started and they've got a place to work out of, because they most of them live in a neighborhood, so they can't park their work trucks and their trailers and stuff there like that. So they use these buildings and these spaces, and they lease up about as fast as you can build them.
Why do you think that particular asset class is so popular right now?
I think it's a metal box, like self-storage. There's nothing that goes wrong, hardly ever. And then I think you most of your leases are 5-year leases, unlike self-storage, which is on a monthly base. But don't get me wrong, I love self-storage. But this asset class seems to be so popular because you get 5-year tenants in it, and those guys are all business owners. They're not consumers. So they're going out working for a living, and they're going to pay their rent. So they've got a place to work out of. So they're a lot more stable as a tenant than a rent house or a apartment complex or something.
Oh, I agree. I agree. It was just interesting to me because I've heard a lot more about flex space, this asset class recently, but at least in our areas, in the East Coast, Mid Atlantic regions, like I
Mhm.
feel like they've been around forever. I mean, I remember,
They have.
15 years ago when we were looking at office space for our, this, whatever collar offline business or mostly online business, we were looking at flex space because it
Mhm.
ends up being the cost per square footage was cheaper than office.
Yep.
It was cheaper than retail. We were able to, in essence, have some offices up front and build out to our liking, a fun zone, fantasy factory, call it, in the
Right.
back end. And so, like, even though like we didn't meet that target demo, it was still interesting. But I mean, I've been hearing a lot about this, this type of stuff lately. I will say though that at least around where we are, it's hard to find dirt, right? So a lot of them are older buildings, or they're getting demoed and
Right.
recreated, or potentially they're just moving out, beyond the city, beyond the burbs into more rural areas.
Yeah. Infill lots are very difficult to find that's already zoned properly.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of guys, like especially in our area. I mean, Jason will know this, and guys local to us, but like St. John and Merritt's, they own everything. Because I talked to our commercial broker a little bit. I'm trying to get Jason to get your Facebook page up a little bit after you made the post, and I was like, "Hey, Kate, like," and we're gonna have Kate on here shortly in a couple weeks. But I was talking to her about it. She's like, "These guys build them." And they never leave. Like they buy it, they build them, and they never sell them. They never trade.
Right.
If there's any land left, it's already been picked over. So
Right.
here's I guess this is a spec build that you're about to do or you are
We
doing.
are doing the dirt pad on this right now. My dirt guy's out there doing the dirt pad, and we're hauling in the dirt pad right now. It was a 1.75 acre tract in the middle of town. This was at Southwest 29th Street in Oklahoma City, which is like right in the middle of the city on the south side. And it was the old homestead, the last tract of land left on 160 acres of the homestead. These people that I bought it from actually still had a land patent. So it had been passed through 3 generations. And this was the last piece of it. And we bought it. That was the old farmhouse that they grew up in, that little picture on the left, top left. And we demoed it all down. And there's industrial buildings on both sides of the lot. And so we demoed that, and we're going to build this, the one at the bottom, which is 20,250 square foot of industrial flex. There'll be 9 units in that building, and each one of those units will have two offices and a bathroom. And it's about 2,200 square foot each unit is. They'll have 12-foot wide by 14-foot doors. That's what I've learned in this industry, that you really need to have 12-foot or 14-foot tall doors because of the size of some of the bigger trucks that these type of tenants want to pull in. You take, a ladder truck, or you take something like that, or what do they call bucket trucks? It needs to be a taller door. The very first one I built had 12-foot tall doors, and I lost some buyers because of it. But this one right here, we should, once we're finally able to get everything going and pull the slab, I think the building package should be here 1st of January. That's another problem in this business. It takes a while to get your building packages. It seems like they're between 12 and 15 weeks out once you order.
So you're going to build this just real quick, and you guys can see the bays. They're about 2,500 square feet. You're finishing the office, or you're just roughing it in? And then one other question for you: are you putting, if I wanted to rent unit 1 and 2, can I remove the interior wall, or is that a block interior wall?
That's a great question. And here's what I'm doing. The nine units, I am building out the 2 outside end units. And then I have an international building code on these B2 buildings. Anything over 12,000 square foot, you got to sprinkle it. So what I'm doing is in between bay 4 and 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 5 and 6. Sorry, 5 and 6. I'm putting in a 2-hour firewall. And that 2-hour firewall is allowing me to keep from having to sprinkle the building. You can go up to 24,000 square foot in industrial space without sprinkling, as long as you put in the firewalls and you own them. But what I'm doing is I'm building out to 2 separate units, and then I'm putting in the firewall, and I'm going to attempt to lease each full space. So I'm going to 10,000 and 9,000 square foot or something like that. So I'm going to try to lease the entire one. But if I have somebody that comes in and just takes 2 units, then we'll build out a office in the 3rd unit and try to lease the rest of it again.
Yeah.
I don't want to build out all the offices and just have individual units, but this is like I'm building this to sell. So the owner, if somebody comes in, we're going to put it up once we get our CO for lease and sale. And if I have tenants start coming in and leasing, then of course the price is going to go up. Once we, the for sale price will go up once we start putting tenants in it. But if we have somebody come in and want to buy it and ask us to build out all the units and separate it, we'll do that too. But I don't think that's a good idea, but I'll do whatever the buyer wants to do. But that's my plan, is to build the 2 outside units and work our way to the center and try to get the tenants to lease 2 or 3 or 4 of those units that isn't built out yet. So they have their warehouse space is bigger.
Yep. Owner user. It's beautiful.
So now are you able to sell these things as condos, as 9 individual units, or however many units this is?
That's another project that I am putting together. It's already being done on the north side of town, and it's more of the old rich guys' man pads are what they are, because they're putting in the very contemporary modern doors with the glass and stuff in it, building out the insides and parking their hot rod cars, and it's just a place for the old retired guys to hang out. And they're buying them individual units as a condo, and they're selling them as industrial condo toy storage or something like that. But what they do is just go out there and make a man cave out of it and hang out, and all the buddies sit outside and pull their 1969 Mustangs and Camaros out into the parking lot when it's pretty, and they stand around drinking coffee and talking to one another and do nothing. But yes, it's being happened quite a bit, and that's being done in a higher end
areas.
Yeah, higher end areas,
and that would make sense.
Yeah,
that would make sense. I mean, that makes sense in general. And then, what about like cost per square foot on something like this?
Great question. I get asked this all the time. And what we're doing is, and this is how I break it down. My building package, the erection of that building, and my concrete slab, and I call it slab up, the slab up build. And we white box them, which is basically you're building the shell, and you get enough in it to be able to pass your building inspection. You got to put exit lights at the doors and a house panel, but you don't go out full blown, wire up everything and do all that. That is costing, I'm getting that done for about $25 to $26 a square foot. Now you go in there and you figure in your parking lot and your dirt and everything. The last one I did, I was in it right around $80 to $81, and I sold it for $110 at white boxed. So but that all comes down to, as Ian and I was talking about, you need your dirt to be around $4 to $6 a square foot, or $18 to $19 under covered roof.
Hey, Jason, we can see your notes. We make real live notes on the podcast because he's sharing his screen. But that's what we do, because we want to make sure we get the best information.
I got to put this in the show. I got to put it in the show notes. I'm not just messing around over here.
Yeah. No, what I want to ask you, I know we're kind of bouncing around here, and that's good to know that, you build for 80, sell for 110. Having multiple dispositions, Jason and I have been doing some content recently around like how to get started. And a lot of it's like the end is really what you're writing everything to. Can you talk a little bit about leasing? Like you were talking about, hey, I can split this down 10,000 and 10,000. You get a higher price per foot. We're looking at triple net leases. How we leasing all this up to even get them filled?
Yeah, the leasing side, the reason you don't see much of this on the market, because just people build them and they keep them forever because they're such a great asset. You're leasing $10 to $12 a square foot annually. So you're building a building that, well, it's 10,000 square foot. You can have 600 grand in it. It rents for 110 a year or 120,000 a year. 5 years it's paid for. And that thing's just a cash cow from then on. The tenants you're putting in it. Now, I use a commercial broker, even though I have a broker's license stuff, but I use a commercial broker that specializes in industrial flex and warehouse, simply because they're the ones that has connections. You hire people that specialize in stuff, or you're wasting your time and your money. My first one, I didn't do it. It took me 6 months to get rid of it. The second one, I started working with a young aggressive commercial broker, and I kept him in the loop. And matter of fact, he's the one that's going to be managing or finding my tenants for my big development I'm doing up here on 24th Street. But he already had feelers out, and he had already buyers in place. As soon as I got my CO on the last one I just sold 2 months ago, within a week of listing, I had 3 LOIs on it. He already had buyers in place. As soon as I signed that leasing agreement with him, he had LOIs coming at me. And yes, my commission on the deal, it cost me $45,000, but we had it sold, 1031 exchanged, and closed in 30 days. And the project made me a little over $400,000.
Yeah.
So it's worth it. You know, if you're going to get in this space, to build the relationship with somebody that specializes, a broker that specializes in the industrial, not just a commercial broker. You know as well as I do, commercial brokers are a different world than a residential broker. You know, you've got tenant placement brokers, you've got lease owner brokers, you've got retail space brokers, you've got industrial brokers. You need to find the guys that specialize in it and are a hitter in the market. And they will make you money if you build a relationship with them. There is no doubt.
Yep, that's 1,000% true. You know, you got the wrong leasing broker on the wrong listing type. You know, you're just going to sit there dead, wasting money. You know, time more than anything, but time is money in this business.
Right.
And you know, I think you bring up a point, and this is just a thesis that I've been working through. You know, we've been texting back and forth. Is like, man, like we've always bought other people's problems, but then you start looking at, man, what if we did some ground up development? You know, could I be? So essentially what I heard from you, and this is kind of what I've been thinking, is like, I build it, and if it leases up, great, I refinance it. If I build it and it leases up and someone wants to buy it, great. And if I build it, it's brand new, someone's willing to buy it, and it's a great owner user building. You've created multiple dispositions, what's awesome. What about the front side, like the land development piece? I think that's one thing that's not talked about a lot, like how much work goes into that. You know, this project here, you got 20,000 square feet on almost 2 acres. I think about it, I'm like, fuck, I could get 30,000 square feet of storage on that same 2 acres. Like, what is that whole land acquisition development front side looking like?
That's a great question. Now, here's the difference between this is these buildings are bought. And I mean, these buildings that we're building are already, the land's already zoned for them. And when it comes to self-storage, you've got to submit some serious plans. You're building multiple buildings. I don't know where you guys are, but we have to pull permits for each building we build in self-storage, where this individual building, it all comes in as one piece. And the reason that self-storage is very, I guess the way to put it is, unlike these buildings where people will drive 15 miles because they're working class Americans that they own businesses, they'll drive 15, 20 miles to their business, to where all their business stuff is, and pull it out and go to work. Where self-storage, your customers come within a 3 to 4 mile radius. So self-storage is a little harder to put just everywhere, because you've got to look at your competition and see where the big boys are and who's going to cut your throat when it comes to trying to lease up that space. But these individual buildings like this, you know, yes, you do got to know a little bit about the dirt contracting side. You got to have some experience. You just don't go out and just start throwing up stuff, you know, where you see all these guys flipping houses. There's a big difference between flipping a house and putting lipstick on a pig and building something from ground up. You got to have some experience in land development and stormwater retention. And it's a different world. So if you don't know what you're doing, you definitely need to find you a mentor or somebody, or partner with somebody that does know what they're doing, and just ride the train with them so you can learn and figure it out. I just think, I'm still big into the self-storage, but it's when it comes back down to land, that's even harder to find in the right place where the feasibility study makes sense to build the self-storage than it is these type of buildings, simply because your tenant base is different. You know, your tenant base is different, and you're not having to compete with the public storages and the life storages and all the big boys that will just, they'll let you in for 2 months and for
Plus
free.
me and you probably resonate with the tenant base that's renting from you way better than I resonate with some of the other tenants renting our storage stuff, right? Like these are good, we're talking blue collar jobs that we all resonate with. Like it's probably some of your own contractors and granite guys. And like, let's talk about like who I know you've mentioned it before, but like, I think the use type's almost unlimited. Like I just went to our surveyor to go pick up plans for a house that we're building. And I never knew where his office was. And he was in a flex space. I said, what are you doing here? He's like, well, I used to have a storage facility and I got tired of going over there. So I just rented a piece of flex space. We have the office out front and he just has rows and rows of filing cabinets for all the plans. I was like, wow, that's genius. It's just like, there's so many uses for that building type, man.
Absolutely. Yep. And like you said, you are 100%. I feel more comfortable sitting around drinking a beer with the guys sitting on the construction site than I do with the people, the wealthy people, that you're supposed to be surrounding yourself with. And it's just, I've just always fit in that world because that's where I play. And so I have to force myself out of that comfort zone.
So how long did the development of that land from start to finish take before before let's say the pad was?
Well, we demoed the building and the trees and everything last week, and we're building the dirt pad this week. And then we'll be,
it's quick.
But how long for upfront for like, I know every jurisdiction is different, but like permits and stuff, like it was by right? So you already have a set of plans that you're like, here, I built this on 6 other.
What I do, and this is something other people need to think about doing, is when you can do this in commercial, you can't always get away with it in residential, but you'll make an offer on the land, an LOI. If they accept your LOI, then you write the contract with a 90 to 120 day closing with an option to extend another 30. And during that time, they call it due diligence period. You're submitting your plans and your site plans and your construction plans and everything to the city to try to get your permits or getting close to the permits. So when you do close on the land and you're the owner of the land, you can get everything approved quickly instead of buying the land and taking the risk that you may have to do something different or do something that the city wants you to do that's going to drag you out 6 more months. So you don't take ownership of the land until you get just about everything approved through the city zoning and the construction industry, and then you pull the trigger on the land, close on the land, and then a few weeks later you should be able to have a permit.
Yeah, that's right. You can keep buying options. We sold a similar type building, but the new buyers were a publicly traded company, and they wanted to convert the flex space into office space. It's a long story. But they had like 6 $5,000 options. Basically, they just kept paying into escrow to be able to extend until they got their approvals from the city. Right. So yeah, it's definitely a little different on that aspect. What do you think the future? Do you think you're going to get into the bigger distribution sites, or you want to stay in this smaller? Because like flex space in general has like a very broad term. Like, so a lot of people think of the big Amazon distribution warehouses. I think of like, 20, 30, 40,000 square foot warehouses. You're looking at it, I'm building 20,000, but breaking it down to 2,500. Do you see yourself building bigger sites, or do you want to stay in this base size, I guess?
I like the smaller. The reason I like the smaller buildings is simply because I can put them all over town. So if one building is empty, not all my assets are empty. It's kind of like self-storage. If you've got 2 or 3 units empty, well, that's not really going to hurt your occupancy level, and you're still making payments, you're still getting a check. Well, the big warehouses, if your tenant moves out, that lease the whole thing, you're in a pickle. I would rather have multiple units in a 20,000 square foot building, or 2 or 3 12,000 square foot buildings on a tract of land with multiple tenants in each building. So when this tenant moves out, it's not hurting me on my financials as bad as just one big 30,000 square foot building, because we've got them all over Oklahoma City because of the oil and gas industry and all that stuff. And when one building is empty, that kind of hurts the checkbook a little bit. So I would rather have multiple, use the self-storage mindset in the flex space world where you've got. And then on top of that, once you get 2 or 3 of these buildings paid for, you're knocking down $300,000 or $400,000 a year, unless you just have to have that $1 billion yacht and stuff. Most guys, older, got rid of the kids, you can live pretty good on that. So then you can decide what you want to do for the year. Go build one a year instead of 10 a year, or go. Right. It's
and super low headache and maintenance after these things.
Huge.
After these things are leased up.
It's crazy how compared to so many other classes that there's no headache. There's nothing to do. You can get your cup of coffee and go drive around and look at your things that are making you money every morning and then go fishing.
Well, yeah, and it's the longevity of the tenant, right? Like think about the storage world. Like I was just looking today or the other day, we've already moved 125 tenants in and out this month across all of our sites. That's a lot of moving action. Here, you're moving one person maybe every couple of years. The longevity of these tenants, like, I don't know if you guys know, but like, you got a landscaper in there. They got racks and racks and racks of shit. They ain't moving that, dude. They'd rather be like, yo, Jay, next time that bay next to me opens up, I want it.
Exactly.
Like they're not moving.
Yes, exactly. And they're building their business, and most of them come in as a beginning or a small business, and they grow. And as they grow, they want more space. Well, God, that's what you want in there. You want them to stay forever and never leave. And it's just like Ian said that we own 2 self-storage facilities, and my wife runs them on the cell phone and computer, and it's just they're in and out all the time. It's still, even though you don't have management on site, it still requires a lot of management. Where these deals, once they're in, your check comes in the mail.
That's right. Mailbox money.
There ain't a whole lot that goes wrong with that metal building. There's just not, and most of those guys are do-it-yourselfers anyway, so they'll just fix it.
Well, yeah, they're blue collar, dude. They're us. Yeah. They're not going to call you and be like, "Hey, man, like, this is broken." They're gonna be like, "Yo, dude, I broke the door. I already had my garage guy come because guess what? I need it fixed." Right? Like, they can't be out of business. They can't be out of service.
Exactly.
And one of our best performing storage sites is all bigger unit types on like 15 acres, or it's a little less than 15 acres, but it's got all big units like this, and it's all businesses in there, and they stay there and they don't go anywhere. My length of stay is north of 5 years on all those tenants there because the longevity of the tenants.
Exactly.
I think you're onto something, and the good news is we're going to push this out to a ton of people, and we'll get thousands and thousands of views. So the secret's getting out there. But you alluded to it earlier that like this is storage pre-COVID. This is multifamily pre-90s. Like there's a big wave coming. And when I started doing research, there's a lot of underserved markets out there, which is really impressive.
Yeah, it is. And that's why we're looking at some markets. The key is, though, and I think this is something that I'm looking into, that a guy's going to have to go out and buy 15 to 20 acres and just do the development so you've got the lots available. Not necessarily that the lots are going to make a lot of money when you do the development, but you're going to have accessible lots to yourself. So you've got to figure out how, what is it worth? Because I'm looking at a 38 acre tract right now doing here in Oklahoma City, but it's going to require a lot of dirt work, and we've got to do the roads and curbs. So you got to have some experience in it, or you're going to have some general contractor just break it off in you. But it's going to have, I think we got 29 1 acre tracts out of it. So that'll be 29 buildings that I could build in there and sell or keep, all in one area. So, but it's a $3 million tract of land. It's probably going to take another 2. So I'll have 5 in it. So I've got to spread that up. Say, okay, well, what's the lots? What's that? Figure out that we can do with the lots and this and that. And it's probably a year and a half project to get it all done. But I'm just thinking, because finding dirt's the hardest part. Even when you go into other cities, if there's industrial areas, usually close to railroads or whatever, but there's no vacant lots. And if there is, getting a hold of them is it's hard. So I think the land is going to be the problem.
So I'm sitting here thinking, and I thought this early in the show, and Jason, I don't know if you picked up any of this, is like, you guys are in growing cities. Like we're densely maxed out here in the Northeast. And like, you go to Texas, I haven't been to Oklahoma, but like, I just look at Texas. It's like Austin is just like expanding, or Houston just continues to expand. And it's like, well, no shit. Like no wonder like you have all this industry and all this business and all this growth. And it's like, it's really fun. And you guys can find the land on the outskirts where the growth's going. Like I look at my brother down in South Carolina, the same thing. You just see Charleston exploding. And I'm like, man, there's like so much opportunity for guys like you come in and build this unit type because you know this is going to service all the other growth out there. I think you've done a really good job uncovering a niche part of the market. And it seems like you're about, I'd like to say, exploit in the most positive way. You're about to blow it up in Oklahoma, and I'm excited to watch your growth. You do a lot of good content on Facebook, so I'm very excited to watch that. So, so we do ask all of our guests a few questions. We're going to put you on the spot. Good news is you have no hair left, and you can't pull it out.
That's right.
No, they're not that bad. What's one book or podcast that you're listening to right now that's like changed your life, or that you think everybody should listen to, or you're just currently enjoying it?
Well, I hate to say it, I love Andy Frizzelli.
Hell yeah! Yep.
I love Andy, and I love Sean Whalen, and I listen to those guys because that's my language. I'm a like effortless get it kind of guy. I've never played the victim role. I've never worried about anything. Just freaking get out there and get in the parking lot and get it done like men. And I always listen to those guys. Ed Milet's great. You want a little softer side, but he's great to listen to. Golly, what was the last book I read was Sean's How to Make Shit Happen. I liked that book. But it's just a book is only as good as a book is what it's saying to you if you need that book at that time. And it just depends on where you are in life. You could read, just The Gap and the Gain, and you may not be in that position that it's going to speak to you until you get to that point. And then, so we all read millions of books, and it's just, you go back and you're at a certain point and you're thinking, I remember that it was in this book 2 years ago I read. So, but it's just, I don't know. I mean, I don't spend as much time reading as I should because I have OCD real bad. So I have to not be thinking about work. So I get most of my reading in on a plane, to be honest with you, when I'm going somewhere, because I'm confined and locked in. I can't go do nothing.
Yeah. I think those are good points. And just to sum up what you just said, and reiterate it, is, again, like, this book isn't going to be like the magic pill that you take. You might not be ready for it, right? Everyone's in different spots. All three of us read the same book. Guess what? We're all getting different takeaways out of that same book, which is fine. And there has been few books, but there's definitely been books that you'll read multiple times throughout your career, and every time you do it, you get something out of it, different out of it, right? So I'm always, it's always weird to me where some people will be like, oh yeah, read that book and let me, and give me the key takeaways. And it's like, my takeaways aren't going to be your takeaways.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't give me cliff notes, because I don't know if they're cliff notes.
Yeah. And every one of us, we could buy a book. We go to a $25,000 mastermind group, and that one takeaway that you were never going to expect pays for itself.
Absolutely.
Pay, money or time. And I definitely understand, the love of listening to Andy or Ed or any of those guys, because listen, they're just motivators in the the Monday morning motivator. Like, get off your ass and start grinding.
I love Andy. I've got him saved. That one just I don't know. He just speaks my language, man.
Dude, exactly. Well, and I think you're right about that. Like, podcasts are more prevalent now than potentially books, because
I agree.
Character, you understand their language. Like, you're talking about Andy. Like, I'm locked in all the time. I get other guys. I'll send them one of his podcasts. Mostly the CTIs, because I get so hung up on that shit. And they're like, I can't listen to him because of his language. I'm like, are you a fucking pussy? Like,
that's my wife. My wife will not. Yeah. She will not listen to him because of that. I'm going, but he talks my language.
I understand the fucks are not in like degrading ways. The fucks are in, he's just talking like a normal person. I'm like, I get you, man. So,
but if you grow up in the construction industry and stuff, that's just how it is, or military or law enforcement or whatever, that's just another word. And he uses it very well.
He uses it very well and very articulated. So,
yes.
Hey, Jay, where's the best place people can find you? They want to see more about your projects, any investments you're offering, where's the best place to find you?
I'm all over Facebook, LinkedIn. Easy to find. I have I'd like to put a little plug in here. I do have a diversified real estate fund. It's called CanadianRiverCapital.com, and we do pay 10%. It is basically a flat fee fund that gets you 10% annually. It's a 3-year redemption period on it. We use that money to do developments and land developments where we can buy the lots, and then but you can. I'm easy to find. I'm all over. It's J London, J London Homes. Just now, there is a J London comedian that is. If you Google Jay London, that is not me. That big old long-haired funny guy is not me. You got to find the bald Jay London. But it's on Facebook and LinkedIn and Instagram. I mean, I'm everywhere like everybody else. You can find my book. It's a best-selling Amazon book, Stop Chasing Paychecks. So you can find that on Amazon. And that's basically a book of my life, going through everything from the day I started to where I'm at. Failures, how I overcome them. A lot of people don't know that I went broke twice and rebuilt myself twice. Life is hell, and it talks about chasing money instead of worrying about the time, because I have 3 daughters and I always worried about the paycheck, and money solved all issues and it didn't. And then the kids grew up and it's gone, and now I regret it. So I talk to young men all the time with little kids just trying to make a name for themselves. And I am that old guy that was told. The old guy told me one time, says, "Boy, you better slow down and enjoy those kids." And now I try to bring that message to every young guy that's out here trying to get in that Lambo and take the picture in front of the plane and stuff, and explain to them it's not all about that. You can make money the rest of your life, but those kids grow up and they disappear on you.
Yep, that's some deep shit right there, man. Because I talk about it with Jason and a couple other guys. It's like, how the hell's my daughter 9? Like we're halfway there. Like it's like, yeah, I know it's forever, but you know what I mean. It's like, holy shit! Like next, they're not going to want to hang out with me. Like,
yeah, you're not cool no more after 16.
Yeah, please don't remind me. So anyway, I might have to come and sit in your office and smoke a cigar with you here soon.
Dude, come on! I love it. I love it.
Down. So, man, we appreciate you having you on. It's been really good. And I hope you guys got some value out of this. So,
yep. I was hoping I could bring some value to somebody. And by all means, I am an open book. If anybody wants to reach out to me, just shoot me an email. I will always find time to answer them and help all I can help. That's what we're here for. We should pass it forward. I've learned by getting dirty and getting muddy and getting filthy. And if I can help somebody jump through some hoops that I didn't have to, and leapfrog them, I would love to. So just reach out to me and I'll be glad to answer your calls.
Jay, we certainly appreciate you coming on the show.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.